Alright everyone, welcome back. So, we continue on in our deadline previews once again with the Anaheim Ducks today. So, the Ducks, once again, it's another year of selling. Shouldn't be surprising anyone with that statement. They are going to be sellers for sure. Another year where they look better, but just still nowhere close to a playoff spot. As of right now, they are 20, 35, and 3 for 43 points. They are 7th overall in the Pacific Division. So, they're better than they were last year, but you could argue that's only because of the San Jose Sharks being absolutely terrible. So, you could definitely make that debate for sure. They currently have $8 million in projected cap space. So, they have plenty of cap space, which is as a rebuilding team usually does. They have a lot of cap space throughout the rebuild. So, they have plenty of room to make moves. However, a lot of their moves are probably going to be revolving around their sellers. And it's once again another year where we might see some guys that are expected to be moved may not get moved, and some guys that aren't expected to be moved might get moved. We saw the trade earlier in January where Cutter Gauthier was traded over to the Ducks in exchange for defenseman Jamie Drysdale from Philadelphia. So definitely that's a possibility. Something like that could happen again. You probably know where I'm going with that statement, but obviously we'll get straight into it here, starting off with the unrestricted free agents. So your UFAs goes as follows. You got Adam Henrique, Jacob Silfverberg, Sam Carrick, and Ilya Lyubushkin. So you look through each of those names there. Henrique, not a bad secondary scorer this year, 38 points in 57 games played. That isn't bad there for a solid forward like Adam Henrique himself. So I would imagine that there are some teams out there that are looking for maybe a cheaper kind of option there for some center depth and say, hey, maybe Adam Henrique's a realistic option there from the Anaheim Ducks. So maybe that's a guy that gets moved there from the team. Silfverberg as well, a guy that I think is less likely to get traded. He's on a much higher cap hit, has 16 points in 57 games played, so not really that high of a producer. So he might actually walk at the free agency market. So we'll get into that after the deadline and our 2024 reviews at the end of the season. Carrick, more or less a fourth liner, depth forward, third line type guy on Anaheim. I'd imagine they maybe keep him around for another year just as a depth option there for the team to fill a roster spot essentially. And then Ilya Lyubushkin might get traded. He's another name there that if a team's looking for a decent third pairing defenseman, Lyubushkin's a good option for the Anaheim Ducks to move there. Your restricted free agent list is much larger. There's a much more names here and much more wealth in this column. You got Isaac Lundestrom, Max Jones, Brett Liason, Benoit Oliver Graux, Gustav Lindstrom, Jackson LeCombe, and Urho Vakanainen. So look at those names there. All guys that have kind of underperformed. Lundstrom wasn't the guy that we originally saw in like the bubble year. Hasn't been that guy. I imagine he stays, but there's a chance that he won't as well. Max Jones, kind of the same thing, has not panned out to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. Only has 10 points this season. That's a pretty rough number there for a guy who was expected to kind of be a part of the future. It's unfortunate. Liason hasn't been bad. Hasn't been a bad depth option there. I imagine the Ducks maybe keep him around just for some depth option there. Graux, I mean, he's only played about 32 games, so around there, not a whole lot of time. So definitely give him a couple of more years of development, and maybe he will improve more in the NHL for sure. Lindstrom was, I believe, acquired on waivers from Montreal earlier in the season. Hasn't been a bad defensive option. There's a chance that he could get traded. Maybe, who knows. LeCombe as well, another part of that young core in Anaheim with that defense. Give him a few more years, let him develop. And then Vakanainen has been in the Anaheim system since the Hampus Lindholm deal. Is a guy that I envision will probably stay with this Ducks team throughout the next season. So what are your needs if you're Anaheim? Well, you want draft picks and you want overall youth, because I think you want youth more than those picks, because the past couple of years you've been trying to develop that prospect pool, and it's a really good prospect pool. There's a lot of solid guys on the blue line and on the offensive core that once they fully develop, this could be a pretty damn good hockey team. It's just going to take some time. Now, what I'm saying here with the youth is that they could get some youth options there, like a guy like maybe Andrei Kuzmenko, even though he got traded. Someone along those lines who is a guy that is young, could use a change of scenery, and could be effective for your team. Maybe Anaheim decides to head in that direction. They tried to do that in the offseason where they got Ryan Strome. Obviously didn't work out. Maybe they'll try and do something like that again. We'll find out. Movable pieces. It's some of the guys that I mentioned, obviously. You got Adam Henrique is a name that I mentioned. Lyubushkin, obviously, too. Silverberg, I don't think there's a chance that he gets traded, but he's on the list. And then I got Zegras and Gibson that we can talk about. So Zegras, there have been talks that he might be dealt. He's made available by the Ducks. So he might be a guy that gets traded. Zegras has not been a player that has been all too great this year with Anaheim. When you just look at the overall numbers, he hasn't been. It has not been an ideal year for him. So there's a chance that if the Ducks see an offer that's fitting, they could move him. Possibility there. I've seen Montreal in the talks. Not saying that it will happen, but I've seen them in the talks. Then you got Gibson, too. I mean, Gibson's been in rumors for forever. I bring up Gibson in virtually every single Ducks-related video that I have. So, honestly, not too surprised there that Gibson's being brought up in rumors once again, because that is not an unusual thing to hear there if you're a Ducks fan. You probably aren't surprised at all. But anyways, that is my deadline preview for the Anaheim Ducks. They're obviously a team that is going to once again sell at this year's deadline. That's where we envision them to be. It's just a matter of, well, what are they going to sell? But anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.